and you need to legally inform the court anytime you move. That's your address of record. So if he's changed his address of record, that's a problem. And he hasn't reported that because we haven't seen that, guys, because we know what happens in the court records, right? I know. He hasn't updated that. As of today, it can change. Maybe next week he does it. Maybe after they live that they do it, but he has to notify the court. Now, that isn't necessarily automatically public when it's filed, but he's going to have to say it in the courtroom, and that's going to come out. So if he's moved, he needs to say that. Otherwise, it's contempt of court.
Brace yourself for this one. Johnny Somali has vanished from his registered address. And in South Korea, that's not just suspicious, it's a direct legal violation. The law is crystal clear. If you're a charged criminal, the court must know exactly where you live at all times. At every hearing, you stand up, state your address, and confirm it's current. If you've moved, you have to update it immediately. Fail to do that, you're in contempt of court. And in Korea, that can mean up to 3 years behind bars. With his trial only days away, reports now say Johnny hasn't confirmed his new location. This isn't just reckless, it's poking the bear, and the bear is the South Korean justice system. But that's not all. Legal insiders confirm that contempt of court in Korea isn't taken lightly. It's more than just breaking a rule. It's openly disrespecting the court itself. Even something as small as insulting a judge can trigger the charge. And Johnny, he's already done far worse. He's insulted the judge and even made vile comments about the judge's mother. Yet somehow the court let it slide. Until now. His disappearing act could be the breaking point. If the court believes he's hiding out, they have the power to escalate this case instantly. Here's where the mask falls off. Hank Yu, once seen as an ally to Johnny, is now pulling away fast. He's gone on record saying he doesn't want to involve himself in any of Johnny's matters, especially this trial. Whether that's because he truly doesn't know Johnny's location or because he doesn't want to be dragged down with him, the message is clear. Hank wants out. And with Johnny's legal problems stacking higher by the day, Hank's timing couldn't be more calculated.
Johnny Somali is such a disgrace that his own lawyer refuses to be shown on camera in South Korea. Of course, Johnny Somali is now facing mandatory prison time after a deepfake AI scandal that he was involved in, and this could land him up to 3 years in South Korean prison, and that is going to happen. He's doing everything that he can to get deported back to the US of A, but South Korea aren't having it. They're stating that he will serve his time in South Korea, but even his lawyer does not want to be associated with Johnny Somali, as when he was on a live stream, his lawyer was adamant that he could not be shown on camera.
So just
I won't show his face.
just make sure that his face is not.
I'll blur his face.
나는 나오면 안 돼.
Can you tell him that I'll blur his face?
네. 만약에 찍히면 가려준대요.
그래 대전 찍지 말고. 이거 내야 뭐
TTS on, I'm gonna turn off
큰 문제는 없는데.
TTS off.
혹시나 그런
Thank you for the hat. No TTS right now. You can send it, but I'll play later.
그래 뭘 물어보려고? 물어봐. 우리 사건부터 좀 설명할게. 지금 또 이제 알려고 지금 말고 오늘 내가 먼저 이야기할게. 지금 우리 이스마엘 그 렌즈 입던.
What do you guys make of this though? Let me know your thoughts, opinions down in the comments, and be sure to follow.
It spirals from here because Johnny's disappearance isn't the only red flag. Authorities are already questioning whether this is part of a deliberate hideout plan. In South Korea, the address you give the court is your official address of record. Move without telling them, and you're basically going dark on the legal system. That's not something prosecutors ignore, especially not with someone like Johnny, whose reputation for stirring chaos is already well documented. But then, everything changed. As the legal clock ticks down, the tension around this trial is hitting a boiling point. If Johnny shows up without updating his address, the court can still hit him with contempt charges. If he doesn't show up at all, that opens the door for arrest warrants, harsher penalties, and even more jail time. The legal stakes are massive and the clock is running out, and it gets even messier. On top of Johnny's drama, several streamers tied to Ice Poseidon's latest event are now being accused of harassing the public. It's the same toxic circle of chaos, public stunts, reckless behavior, and zero accountability. And now, with Hank Yu eyeing a move to China, his own plans could face new legal barriers. If Johnny appeals his case or drags it out in court, Hank could find himself tangled in cross-border legal complications he never saw coming.
The concept of free speech is the ability to report on facts, and that's just the way it is. And just because he wants money doesn't mean you can sue somebody. Plenty of people want money. If you could just sue people whose money you want and get that money, well, then they would do it. It's not that easy. It's not that simple. So at the end of the day, he's going to have a hard time collecting from anybody, myself included. And I can say he's not going to get a single won, baht, or US dollar off of me. It's going to be very difficult for that. Now, expanding upon previous defenses, which I mentioned in other videos, there are other things that would cause a defamation lawsuit against myself, Atozi, anybody else to fail. The first is the impossibility or impracticability procedurally. So here's the thing. There's something called standing. That's the ability to bring a claim. He's going to have a real big issue in multiple jurisdictions with standing. It's very odd because he may not even have standing to bring a claim in the United States. He might be able to bring it by hiring an attorney or in a particular jurisdiction where the defendants would reside, maybe, but maybe not, right? They could contest that and say, no, actually, you don't have standing to bring that. And in other jurisdictions, like other countries, he certainly might not even have standing at all. The only place he clearly can sue is South Korea. But let's just use myself as an example. While I used to live in South Korea, I no longer reside in South Korea. Therefore, suing in South Korea would be entirely inappropriate because, well, they wouldn't even be able to serve me with process because I'm not in South Korea. And even if you were able to get a Korean sued and somehow try to serve it abroad, etc., the venue would be improper. So they would just make a motion to change the venue, and they would lose that, and Hank would lose that, and it would all be done procedurally. The other thing is, most of the streamers, let's use Atozy in 15 minutes, for example, they're in the United States, and we have something called anti-slap. Now, Hank claims to know about free speech, but I'm going to educate him on free speech as it's applied in law.
Here's where the truth hits hard. Johnny Somali isn't just risking his freedom, he's daring the court to make an example out of him. In a country where legal compliance is non-negotiable, disappearing from your registered address is like waving a red flag in front of a bull. The authorities aren't going to stay silent. They're watching, they're tracking, and if Johnny thinks he can play games with the system, he's about to learn exactly how quickly it can all come crashing down. The drama only gets deeper. If Johnny Somali has changed his address of record and failed to report it, that's a direct hit against the law. Court records in South Korea don't lie. And as of today, there's no sign of an update. Maybe he tries to fix it next week, maybe he waits until the last second, but the fact is he has to officially notify the court. Even if the paperwork isn't immediately public, the moment he steps into that courtroom, he'll have to say it out loud, and that's when the truth will come out. If he's moved and kept it quiet, it's contempt of court. And in Korea, that's not just a slap on the wrist, that's a legal sledgehammer. Here's where it really explodes. Legal experts are clear. If Johnny doesn't update the court with his current location soon, the consequences will be brutal. Trying to hide from the system in South Korea is a losing game. The authorities can track him down no matter where he goes, and with his trial just days away, skipping out would trigger the biggest backlash of his life. Arrest warrants, harsher sentences, and a permanent stain on his record would be almost guaranteed. But then everything changed.
I just got out of the Johnny Somali trial. It went absolutely terrible for Johnny because Johnny showed up an hour late with a MAGA hat on. There's 4 charges that was in that trial.
The fourth charge, which he just discovered about, he didn't know anything about it today, and his lawyer didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, they were pretty shocked.
In the Korean system, once the police decide to actually formally charge you and they send it to the prosecutors, that's pretty much it. That's where you get the 90+% conviction rate. You're pretty much done. If they've decided to go that far, that means they have the evidence to prove the crime.
And he came in with the biggest smile on his face. As soon as they read him his charges, his smile just vanished.
While Johnny's digging himself deeper, Hank Yu is plotting his own escape route. New information shows Hank is planning to move to China by June 2026 to study mechanical engineering. He's already finished aerospace engineering, and now this next move looks like a clean break, a way to fully cut ties with Johnny Somali and his legal mess. It's a shift that couldn't be more obvious. Brace yourself for this one. Straight from Hank's own words, when asked what he'd do if Johnny goes to prison, his answer was cold and clear. That chapter would be over. He wouldn't spend years fighting to free Johnny. No legal crusades, no loyalty beyond the trial. Instead, he'd be moving on with his life, starting a new chapter in China, pursuing his master's degree in mechanical engineering, and leaving Johnny to face the storm alone. For someone who once stood beside him, Hank's timing says it all. This ship is sinking and he's not going down with it. It turns darker from here. Hank Yu claims he's already wrapped up his aerospace engineering studies and is now setting his sights on a master's in mechanical engineering in China. Sounds impressive on paper, right? But here's the problem. There's no proof. No confirmed university, no official records, no diploma in sight, and that's not a small detail to overlook. When someone keeps their academic history vague, you have to wonder, is it because they're private or because the truth wouldn't match the story? Now ask yourself, would someone with a serious engineering background spend months in South Korea disrespecting the culture, ignoring basic laws, and openly refusing mandatory military service? That's not discipline, that's arrogance dressed up as ambition.
You can see in this voice, he's like ready to go to China. He's ready to get out. And we're going to talk about the timeline. He may not, he's planning to move to China so quickly the case might not even be over, especially if Johnny appeals it, especially if he fights it, whatever else, especially if new case comes in and he has to fight a separate trial. Like, Johnny may be like still like fighting his court case. He's not going to be sitting there waiting for Johnny, right? He's not going to be sitting there waiting for Johnny. We're going to talk about him going to China and all this other stuff. I mean, one thing I'll say is this: if he's accurately reporting his felony, going to China may be pretty hard.
I completely agree that if Johnny Somali's trial hasn't been finished yet, then Hank Yu trying to go to China raises a lot of questions. Is this really coming from Hank himself? Maybe. He's said a lot of shady things before, even saying at one point that he didn't want to be involved with Johnny.
But here's where it really explodes. Even if his aerospace degree is real, Hank's grand plan to relocate to China while Johnny Somali's trial is still unfolding is far from realistic. In his own words, he's ready to be done the moment Johnny is behind bars. No loyalty, no lingering ties, just a clean break. But trials aren't predictable. If Johnny appeals, if the prosecution adds new charges, or if a fresh case opens, the process could stretch on for years. And if Hank tries to leave in the middle of all that, he could easily find himself dragged back into court as a witness, an associate, or worse, a target for investigation. This next part, straight up wild. Moving to China isn't just a matter of buying a ticket and showing up with a visa application. China screens its international students and foreign residents thoroughly. If Hank's name pulls up reports of his public disturbances, harassment incidents, or his connection to Johnny Somali's controversies, that could be enough to kill his application instantly. Immigration authorities don't need a criminal conviction to say no. Just a whiff of bad press can be enough. And Hank's online presence? It's a trail of chaos for anyone willing to follow the breadcrumbs. But that's not all. Hank has already admitted something that makes his exit plan even more damning. He's invested more into Johnny Somali than Johnny has ever given back. That's not a friendship, that's exploitation, and Hank knows it. Now, with Johnny's trial days away, he's cutting himself loose in the most permanent way possible. No support, no visitations, no legal assistance, just a fast exit and a hope that distance will erase the association. But here's the problem. Once your name has been tied to someone like Johnny Somali in the public record, you don't just walk away clean. Here's where the mask falls off.
Here, let's say please not guilty to this. The third obstruction count and fourth will have to be fought in September. So he's going to have to come back in September regardless. This is not going to be over this month. There's going to be other court dates. But if he pleads not guilty, that may just extend it out. It may go even longer. This case may stretch out even longer than we would expect. Currently, we do have a prediction after speaking with various folks on the SET. We have a general prediction on when the sentencing day may be if it goes how it goes. But right now, this is what we're looking at. Not guilty on one obstruction and two defects and guilty on the others. I would expect he might plead not guilty on this, but we will see because he's already pled not guilty to one. So why not try another? We will see what he does with that one. Now, what is he facing? What is he looking at? We've talked about the sentencing chart. Look at the bottom here. This is just the calculations we did based on the Korean sentencing guidelines, but he's facing anywhere from...
While Hank is busy mapping his escape route, Ice Poseidon is lighting his own fuse. His newest streaming challenge has already devolved into blatant criminality. His crew is harassing strangers, taunting people in public spaces, and even spraying pepper spray in the open streets. And this isn't happening on a closed set. It's unfolding in real communities where random bystanders are at real risk. It's not just dangerous, it's reckless to the point of being criminal. It spirals from here. Pepper spray isn't a harmless prank. In many countries, including South Korea, using it on someone without cause is classified as assault. If even one innocent person, an elderly passerby, a child, a delivery worker, gets caught in the mist, this content becomes a full-blown criminal case. And once police get involved, every camera angle, every live stream, every archive becomes evidence. These streamers think they're untouchable because it's just online. The reality? Courts don't care if it's for views when the victim is standing right in front of them. And it gets even messier. This level of chaos doesn't just damage the individuals involved, and it poisons the perception of the entire streaming world. Brands, platforms, and communities see these incidents and lump every streamer into the same reckless category. And when the people pulling these stunts are linked, or even loosely, or to Johnny Somali and Hank Yu, the stain spreads. It's guilt by association, and in the court of public opinion, that's often just as destructive as a guilty verdict. The real chaos starts here. Johnny Somali is gambling with contempt of court. Hank Yu is betting on a future in China that might never happen. Ice Poseidon's crew is openly breaking the law for clicks. These aren't isolated blips, they're interconnected threads in a collapsing network, and the deeper the authorities dig, the more likely they are to treat this as one sprawling web of bad actors, rather than separate, unrelated scandals. That's when the legal heat gets turned up to maximum, and once that happens, there's no backing out for any of them.